Good afternoon. Welcome back. Just coming off our bye week. Thought we had a really productive week together. Set up 3 goals and feel like we accomplished those goals, and I stated those earlier. Another big component of our bye week was to go out and recruit, and that was a very important portion. So I was able to go out on Thursday and Friday and do a lot of good in-state recruiting and see some games and get in front of a lot of coaches, and it's very, very important. Got our staff out as well across the country and doing a great job building relationships and continuing to evaluate players during this process. And brings us to this week and ready for homecoming. Excited to be able to be back home and have a great homecoming crowd. And I know our players came back, and one of the goals was getting back to mentally and physically refreshed and rested, and thought we actually practiced today a little more today than we usually do on a Monday. I thought it was extremely productive and got another lift in today. And so just like where we are as a team, get some guys back and get a chance to focus all of our attention on Rutgers and next Big Ten opportunity for this program. So that's where we're at, and I'm ready for questions.
You talked during the bye week about how the byes broke this season up. As you talk to your players, what was the blend you wanted in terms of maybe them being able to use the bye to advance things schematically and technically, but then also maybe use the bye from a mental and emotional perspective to rest up and really kind of refocus on saying, you know, okay, this bye gets us ready for this chunk of games, then we'll get another one, then this bye gets us ready for that chunk of games.
And we did, and so we mapped it out for our guys and specifically talked about the next 4 games that fall in this next window before our next bye, and what that looks like in terms of just the progression that you go through mentally and physically. Definitely wanted to get our guys a chance to get a change of pace from the normal grind of the season. It was great to be able to have one after 5 weeks, and you go through your entire fall camp, which can be very, a long period of time. It was a week longer this year than it was even a year ago because of our school schedule. So I just think that those things take a toll, especially when you have a lot of young guys. And so just being able to get them out of that routine and get them refreshed and rested, and then just from a fundamental perspective, I really think we were able to focus on those things. And you talk about some schematic things you want to emphasize and work on in those 3 practices that we had. All those things were able to be accomplished. Obviously getting, just with our offensive line with losing Coy, right before that, just continuing to solidify that and technique work and really kind of rested some of those guys that have gotten a lot of snaps. You went through and on both sides of the football and evaluated the guys that have taken a lot of hits already. And really, when we went to the team periods, we pulled them out, let the younger guys get most of those reps. They all did work during fundamental time and technique work, but let the younger guys get a lot of reps, the young receivers and offensive linemen and defensive linemen and DBs and just all positions really. So just really tried to accomplish that, and then really mapped out even this morning talking about the next step and how it phases into the next bye and what comes after that, and so just try to be very proactive with our guys and very very upfront and honest and very accurate in what we see the future hold, but the emphasis is very clear. That is, our number 1 objective is 100% focus on Rutgers, and 100% focus once you get to know who we have each week is to make sure we're getting better. And that was the approach today, was to make sure we walked off that field a better football team, did some fundamental work in special teams as well. We just got to keep getting better every time we take the field, and every time we strap it up on Saturdays that we're a better football team. And that's the goal, and it's obviously something that everybody wants, but we have to have a great plan for that, and our guys had to buy into that. So I think that's what we set out to do, and I feel good about the direction we're going.
Coach, I know when you guys signed Tywan Mullen, excuse me, you felt like he was going to be an impact player. Kind of a 2-part question. First of all, after getting him here and seeing him up close, what's made him be an impact player so quick? And are you surprised that he's been able to impact this early in his career?
Well, I thought he would be able to, but you really never know how a freshman's going to respond when they actually get to campus and you see him play in high school and you see him compete in the different things that you evaluate him with. And I just thought he had a lot of natural ball savvy to him in regards to how to play the football. Went and watched him play in person and just saw those qualities of just being able to understand, how you respond when the ball's in the air and how you naturally play it. And some guys have a knack for that. And I just felt like there was just There was a moxie and a swagger that he brought. Very humble, doesn't talk a lot, isn't a real loud guy, but extremely confident. And I think that he brought that with him, and I expected that, I did, but you never know how it's going to transfer on the field, so, but I think this last game was where it really, he performed at the level that I thought he could. I really did. And I expect him to come here and be a guy that would play as a freshman, and he proved me right. And so, but he's got to keep competing, he's got to keep getting better. His technique work needs to continue to improve, but because now he's no longer a guy that people may not know as much about, so he's pretty much eliminated that. But at the same time, just encouraged by, when you see a guy on film and you evaluate him and you work so hard to recruit him, and it took a whole bunch of our guys on our staff to really do a great job convincing him to come here. But I think that you get a guy like that from an area that we love to recruit in, the state of Florida, and just puts another. To me, and we talked about this yesterday in our staff meeting, you got several guys from that state, we can talk Michael Penix, from Florida and the way he's playing, and then you got Matt Bedford from the Memphis area and coming as a true freshman, and how he's playing, an opportunity he's been given and how he's taking advantage of that. I know it's just been that one game, but a pretty big game, so you take those young guys, and these are freshmen, redshirt freshmen, and guys right out of high school in areas that we recruit hard, and I could go on and on with a lot of different guys, in those areas. But that's to me is you take a guy like Taiwan and you go back and say, hey, you got a chance to come to the Big Ten and get a chance to compete and play right away if you're good enough. And he wasn't promised any playing time early, but he was promised the opportunity to come compete to play. And if you perform and you prove that you deserve to be out there, then you'll get your shot. And he got his shot and he took full advantage of it. So, but yeah, he's a special kid. He really is. His work ethic, his attention to detail, and he's got a long ways to go in regards to just being a complete Big Ten football player, because there's a lot to it. But he cares a bunch. He works his tail off, and he does everything we ask him to do. And he's an awesome young man. So just a tribute to his family and the way he's been raised, and his high school coaches and everybody that's put into helping him be who he is.
I know you guys probably don't pay attention to who's favored or underdog, but this is a game against Rutgers where you guys are probably going to be favored. How do you guys handle that as a team?
Well, I think that the challenge is you got to be a mature football team, understand it's a Big Ten opportunity for both teams, and been in this league long enough to know that those things are irrelevant. And they got a unique situation that they're in right now, but we have no control over that. And all we can control is how we prepare. And I know that we're playing Big Ten football team on Saturday. We're going to be our very, very best. That's the absolute truth.
Following up on that, did you watch the Maryland-Rutgers game this week, and knowing those are your next two opponents?
I did. I had to watch a lot of games, so it was kind of a nice change of pace to be able to sit there and watch as many as I could get in. And I was going back and forth with several. Had them on the trying to flow through from noon until throughout most of the day, just trying to watch as much as I can. And you learn things, you go through, and I watch situational things that teams put themselves in and how they answer those as coaches and evaluate things. And so, but yeah, try to watch as much. I just love watching football in general. So, but yeah, I watched all the teams that we, in our conference and teams that we got coming up and teams that we've already played. So, but yeah, I definitely took advantage of that.
Yeah, Coach, from observing Coach DeBoer the last few months, how has he communicated with players, and how has that translated to execution on the field?
He does a really good job communicating. He's got a kind of a different personality than I do. He's more laid back than I am, but he is also fiery. And I like that about him. I think there's a balance. I think offense is different than defense, personality-wise in a lot of ways. But he's very cerebral. He's a very, very sharp guy that, I sit in those meetings and listen to him communicate with the quarterbacks and communicate with the team. He has a lot of confidence, extremely very strong understanding from top to bottom of every position. I said that from the very beginning, and I think that exudes confidence. He understands. He could coach all those positions. He understands it all, and really, obviously, it's his system, but he great big picture view of it that he communicates well. Some guys can have it in their head, but they can't, get it out to the guys that they coach, which that's the key. It's not what we know as coaches, it's what our players can execute. And so I think just to be able to, install a new system and see it adjusted each week to maximize what the opponent's is giving us is what I see him doing, and being able to adjust to different personnel that we have that is in there based on injuries or whatever, and just being able to get the ball to our guys that can make plays and help us win football games. So been very, very pleased with what I've seen from him, and what I expected is what I've seen. So he's done a great job.
Coach, Mike Penix and the way that he has approached some of the games that he's approached, just like the Michigan State game, being on the road for the first time in the Big Ten and throwing those 2 interceptions to start off against Ball State, and the way he responded. When you do have a young quarterback like that, is there a conscious effort to develop some type of support system around him, or was that kind of natural within the team?
Well, I think you do have to have a plan for that. We talked as a staff, when we made the decision to go with Michael, was that, he is young and there's going to be some mistakes are going to be made, and you got to help him grow, and you want to try and get him off to, we talked about the way we wanted to start against Ball State, and even just getting him on the road, against Michigan State, his first true road game, definitely his first conference road game. And the crowd and how you handle all that, and you try to, but at the same time, you kind of got to take the training wheels off, when it comes really down to it. So, yeah, you try and do as best you can. And I think more than anything, it's, even Peyton's role in all this and the way he helps him. And Peyton's been awesome in that regard, is being a great teammate and helping him mentally get ready and all the things that it takes, and just being in meetings together and working through things. You see them, they talk a lot. And so that's a great thing. So, but yeah, I just, more than anything, it's just try to take some pressure off him to say, hey, you don't have to, win the game yourself. You just got to execute the offense, distribute the football, make good decisions. But at the end of the day, he's got to go out and do it. And he's shown tremendous poise. And I think that we saw that in him. And I felt like that was one of his strengths for sure. But until you go do it and you have a chance to then evaluate it afterwards, and you really know where you are. So, he's still, he's got things to continue to learn and keep getting better, and stay locked in, stay focused. But I think there's no question that you can see his growth, and it's been very, exciting to see what he's becoming. But he's just got to keep working like everybody else, and we got to keep finding ways every week to score points and win games.
Tom, I think it was a week or so ago, a piece of legislation in California passed allowing student athletes in the future to profit off their image and likeness. I'm just curious as to your thoughts on the legislation and the idea of student athletes profiting off that.
Yeah, I haven't really talked to anybody officially about it. It's not something that I have any control over, so really focused on our task at hand. But I want to do whatever we can to support our guys, and I just think that those are decisions out of my hands, and I focus on the things that we can control, which is getting ready to play Rutgers.
Tom, did you change anything defensively this week based on what you've seen through the first few ball games this year? In other words, did you make any adjustments with what's been going on with your defense?
Yeah, we continue to. I think even going into the Michigan State game, we made some adjustments, and then based off some things that we did there, good and bad, continue to make more, absolutely. Really, I thought we had some very productive meetings as a defensive staff, and me just going through, like I rewatched the Michigan State game, 3 different times, and took 3 different sets of notes, and just and then meshed them and just tried to go through and find ways to keep getting us better, because we're not where I want us to be yet defensively. And so, but we had some great time together because we had the time. We weren't rushed to get ready for another game plan. Like you usually are after a game. So I thought it was very, very beneficial, and Coach Womack and I sat down, and some of the other coaches, but just going through and just trying to, with the young group of guys, is just to continue to find what do we do best and what do we need to adjust to help our guys be more successful. And so just felt like that, some things we definitely need to get better at, and some things we changed. Yes, absolutely. So, but it's kind of, process of going through and getting everything the way I feel like it needs to be, and very excited about our group of guys on that side. They play so hard, and just got to continue to execute better. And that's the key. We got to execute better, and so we have to go through and ask some tough questions about why in those situations that we're not, and that's what we addressed. And I continue to feel good about even just today, things we're working on in today's practice, and it's kind of an off growth of that conversation in those meetings, but just was very, very thorough, yes, during these last during this bye week period.
It's kind of a follow-up to that. The next 4 weeks, including the bye, almost work out on paper sequentially that each week gets tougher, scheduling-wise. Is that perfect for what you need to see from this defense? And what is it specifically that you're not doing well in your eyes, and how do you get there?
Well, I think, once again, the schedule is what it is, good or bad. You don't control it, so you just adapt to it and adjust to it. Definitely a good flow. You got 2 home games, 2 away games, and just got to, to me, the whole focus is, and this is the beauty of being able to sit down with your guys and have some mature guys that understand the big picture. It is just 1 week at a time. I mean, there's no doubt you can, we all see the schedule, everybody can look at it, but it is solely focused on earmuffs and blinders, Rutgers. That's it. That's all we see is getting better. And to me, it's a continuous work on run fits, and just making those windows tighter. I think they're running back. I went through and I've watched a lot of guys, and next to the guys from Ohio State, this kid, number one, he's the best running back we played, besides the kid from Ohio State. And I just think that you cannot misfit things. You got it, and that affects tackling. We continue to work on tackling, but just to me, the run fits and the windows and getting tighter windows, and just to me, even just kind of simplifying some things, to help us execute. To me, it's about execution. So it's like you go through and you say, okay, why are we not executing in these situations? Well, to me, with a group that's still young, you better make sure that the rep base is there to execute those key things at critical times. And so I think it's simplification in some ways, for sure, is one component to it, and to try and create as much carryover as we can within the system. So to me, that's, it still goes back to stopping the run, and then we talk about situational. We really emphasize, we went through and did study on 2-minute situations, did a study on our third downs, and then red zone. Those are the 3 areas you're focused on for the bye week for me defensively, and to try to attack how can we be better in those 3 areas, because to me, it's situational football is really what it comes down to. So, but I just think that we got to continue to simplify and execute better in those 3 key areas, but it all starts with stopping the run, and that's where I feel like we just got to thought today was very positive, and just keep working it and working it and working it.
Kind of going back to Michael, I know you can't just remove the Ohio State game, but absent the Ohio State game, you have not given up a lot of sacks this year. And Simon said that obviously it's about blocking and being ready there, but that he feels like quarterback communication has been really important and has been really helpful, whether it's been Peyton or Mike back there. Just what have you seen as you break down the offense, even as a defensive guy that maybe has made pass protection work so well from kind of a whole unit perspective? Again, the Ohio State game maybe being the outlier there.
Yeah, I think first of all, I think Simon's right. It is about communication, and we've talked about that. As a group develops, working together in that position, their communication is critical. But it's really ultimately the quarterback. Because we put a lot on the quarterback to be able to make those adjustments and calls, and the center has a big role in that as well. But as far as them trusting the quarterback, because he sees more than they can see just from where he's standing, in the shotgun, and so I think that the ability to read coverages, which that goes back to coaching. So it's a tribute to Coach Hiller, our offensive line coach. I think he does a tremendous job of he's a great teacher, and he's got answers, and he communicates. I sit in their meeting room. I sat in there last week, and 2 different times, and just so thorough in every little thing. But it just makes you realize how much they have on their plate. So the communication is critical. So, and then obviously the way the quarterbacks are coached, they go through and create videos and just work on this all the time about recognizing pressures and where's it coming from and where we need to help to be slid to and or matched up to, however we decide to do it. And at the end of the day, the quarterback's got to be able to get rid of it, and be able to eliminate some of those. So a lot goes into it, for sure. But I think we do have some veteran guys in there. Having a veteran center, I think, really helps a lot. I think that gives you a lot of Hunter's a very bright guy that works extremely hard, and he cares so much, and so he puts the time in, study as well. So those are all the variables. But then you throw in a true freshman, replacing Coy, and so you really had a major drop off from experience, and reps, and I think that's where it was even more impressive what we were able to do against a really good front, front seven, against Michigan State. So, but got to keep working. I mean, it's a challenge. I mean, I saw several games yesterday where there was a whole bunch of sacks in this conference, so, I mean, a lot of them. So it's just these defenses are aggressive, and there's a lot of great athletes on the D-line, and they're bringing pressure, and they're disguising stuff, and they're trying to confuse you, and so it takes a lot of work. So it's a full-time job, just making sure that we get the protection right, because it's all about protecting that quarterback. And defensively, it's all about affecting that quarterback. So that doesn't change.
John, last one.
Kind of following up on that, Matthew Bedford obviously got in against Michigan State. How big was this bye week for him, and how much of an opportunity was to see the film?
Very important, because you think about how the whole thing unfolded. Where he was thrust into the playing opportunity against UConn, which we really weren't sure he was going to play much in that one, and then all of a sudden now he's totally thrown into it, getting ready for Michigan State, and so now you got that whole week of prep that he was forced into, and then now you got a week after that where he gets a chance to just fundamentals, and just now that he knows he's the starting left tackle, so just the sense of urgency that creates, and then now a whole nother and a week to do it when you don't have the pressure of a game, I thought was really good for him. And but he's going to be tested, and he's going to have to really rise up and study and dive into it and prepare at a high level. So, but he's got a great mentor, and one of Coy's jobs is going to be that, and so that's going to be, he and I are going to meet here soon, and he's got a chance to come back from his surgery, and he's got his little scooter now. He's out there with his cast on and everything, but he's going to be Coach Kronk here real soon, but just got to help get these guys, and that's going to be his new role, is to motivate and to lead and to help coach the O-lineman from a different position, but he's a team guy, he's the captain, he's the leader of this team, and he just isn't going to be doing it on the field, but he's highly respected, and he's going to play a big role in helping Matt Bedford's development, and so I love that about Coy, and he's excited about that, and that's what leaders do, so he's a special guy. I think we're good. Have a great day. Elio.